Alcatraz prison, considered one of the most fortified prisons in history, was constructed on Alcatraz Island in San Francisco Bay, situated approximately 2.4 meters away from the mainland. The surrounding waters were frigid and characterized by strong currents, making swimming perilous. The island's rugged terrain further complicated navigation. Coupled with advanced surveillance systems, the prison was encompassed by 6 watchtowers that maintained constant vigilance. This made escape from Alcatraz seem impossible. The prison housed notorious inmates, particularly those known for frequent escape attempts. Prominent figures among them were Al Capone, the Mafia boss of Chicago between 1925 and 1931, as well as Machine Gun Kelly. To deter prisoners from attempting escape, guards propagated rumors designed to evoke fear, including stories of shark-infested waters and orders to shoot at any escapees. Despite these measures, there were a total of 14 escape attempts, all of which ended in failure, except for a single operation that proved successful in 1962. This particular escape was meticulously planned and executed in a very clever way, devised by 4 inmates who later became known for their audacious feat. One of these inmates, named Alan West, was cleaning the roof of the cells one day when he discovered a ventilation shaft leading to the exterior of the prison. This shaft was weaker compared to the others, leading him to conceive the idea of utilizing it for an escape. Upon returning to his cell, West shared his discovery with his adjacent cellmate, Frank Morris, who was exceptionally intelligent. Morris began to contemplate a well-thought-out escape plan. He invited 2 other prisoners to join them. They were John and Clarence Anglin, who were brothers, both imprisoned in 2 nearby cells. Morris emerged as the mastermind behind the operation. Behind the cells, a corridor led to the shaft, but the dungeon walls were unusually thick, around 20 centimeters. However, there were ventilation holes in their cells, though too small to pass through. Morris realized that the salt water was weakening the walls, so he decided that they would dig into the wall to expand those openings. They smuggled spoons from the cafeteria. Next, they started to dig and expand the holes using these spoons. To minimize attention and noise, they would dig during the times when the prisoners were playing music. Given that the number of guards in Alcatraz was substantial and their rounds unpredictable, this required intense caution. They would take turns digging, where one would dig while the other kept watch. Many other inmates in the prison were aware of the escape plan and were supportive of them. It's estimated that about 80 inmates, nearly half of the prison population, were aware of the escape plan. After a very long time, they finally managed to complete the digging process, which took several months. In order to conceal those openings, they created panels from reinforced cardboard and colored it with the same colors as the cell's walls. They covered the openings with these panels and used cement to secure them in place. They also used clothing and anything else suitable to cover the openings. After that, they needed a method to cross the sea during their escape. They found a magazine in the prison that explains how to make a rubber raft and life jackets using raincoats. Fortunately, raincoats were abundantly available in the prison. They began to collect raincoats with the help of other inmates and managed to gather 50 raincoats. They needed a place to hide all these raincoats and construct the raft. The most suitable location was above their cells, where the ventilation opening was located. However, this area was exposed to the guards. Frank Morris came up with a solution to this problem. He had a good idea and asked Alan West, who was responsible for cleaning the area, to convince the guards to allow him to cover the surrounding bars with sheets and cloths during his cleaning tasks. And indeed, Alan succeeded in convincing the guards to do so after informing them that this would prevent dust from descending below. Afterward, Alan covered that area, and it became the storage space for the raincoats and the workshop where they made the raft. The rest of that area remained covered for 6 weeks. During this time, they took turns working on the raft. At the same time, they cut the bars that were present in the ventilation opening through which they intended to escape. To hide their absence from their cells, they used soap, cement leftovers from the digging process, toilet paper, and paste to craft fake heads and colored them with paint they obtained from the prison. As for the hair that they couldn't create, Clarence Anglin provided it, as he worked in the prison barber shop. Consequently, he would collect inmates' hair to use in the making of those heads. So, whenever they left their cells to go to the workshop and continue working on the raft, they would place the fake heads on their pillows and cover them. The guards would see the heads and think they were asleep. Most of the time they would work on the raft and life jackets at night. After 6 weeks of work, they finally completed the task. The day of escape arrived on June 11, 1962, during the night while everyone was asleep. The 4 inmates began the escape operation by placing the fake heads in their pillows and covering them. Then, they proceeded to the corridor behind their cells, through the openings they had dug before. But one person couldn't exit his cell, the person who first discovered the ventilation opening. Yes, it was Alan West. He couldn't open the ventilation opening in his cell. It said that he used more cement than necessary to conceal the hole, and when the cement hardened, the opening was sealed. His friends told him to try to get out quickly and catch up with them. Alan continued attempting to break the cement and open the opening, but he couldn't. Meanwhile, his 3 friends had already made their way through the corridor and reached the ventilation opening. They took the raft and life jackets, then climbed to the prison roof through the ventilation shaft. They left Alan behind as he couldn't catch up with them. They had agreed that if something happened to any of them and they couldn't escape together, they would leave that person behind and continue their journey. Afterward, the 3 reached the fence and proceeded to cut and bypass it. Then, they arrived at the shore and inflated the boat with a musical instrument they have modified so that it emits air only. Then, they boarded the boat and set off. On the following day in the prison, the inmates woke up, and the guards began their rounds after the prisoners as usual. When they reached Frank's cell, they didn't find him awake, and they assumed he was still sleeping. The guard extended his hand to wake him, and the fake head fell, revealing the escape. The alarm sounded, and a very extensive search began. The investigators began an intensive investigation, and began by investigating Alan West because they noticed the hole in the wall of his cell. They also interrogated all the prisoners, but they did not obtain any useful information. The guards searched the entire island, but they found nothing. A large-scale search was conducted in the sea and everywhere else, but none of them were located. There are reports that suggest they perished and drowned in the sea, as they found bags made from the same raincoats used to construct the boat. These bags contain pictures and messages specific to the Anglin brothers and their family. They also found a life jacket. However, many people said that this was impossible. This is because if they had died, their bodies would have floated and would have been easily found. And there are those who say that they escaped to Brazil and lived there. However, there is no conclusive evidence to support that claim. Alcatraz Island prison was closed a year after the escape due to its high costs. It was later converted into a tourist area. This escape operation remains the only successful one in the history of Alcatraz prison, and has become one of the most famous escape stories in history. Numerous films have been made about this incident, including the movie Escape from Alcatraz. And now we have reached the end of the video, and we hope you have enjoyed your time with us. Write us your opinions in the comments, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.